wasn't Supreme, it was Irv Gotti and his people who put that on 50. That's why 50 hate them so much.
Who saved them? People be like, God. Your first thing is, yo, God saved this guy. Maybe the devil, maybe Satan saved him.
Gene Deal just dropped a bombshell that flipped the whole Murder Inc. Days versus G-Unit beef on its head. He's claiming Ja Rule was the one who put $25,000 on 50 Cent's head, and to make it even messier, Irv Gotti was fully in the loop. Gene didn't sugarcoat anything, as in his words, Ja Rule and Irv Gotti were putting out contracts. According to Gene, there was a $25,000 bounty floating around in secret, and the target was none other than 50 Cent. That $25,000 isn't just a random number either. In the streets, that's known as the going price to get someone seriously hurt or even worse. And Gene insists that this wasn't just street gossip.
Chaz had worked the deal out for Irv Gotti and them to give 50 $250,000.
This was being talked about by people knee-deep in both the music game and the street game. Basically, Gene is saying Ja Rule, Irv Gotti, and Murder Inc. were plotting to take 50 out for real. He already hinted at this a few months ago during his interview on The Art of Dialogue. That wasn't no casual rumor, it was serious business. No one's ever been arrested for setting a price on 50's head, and officially the case went ice cold. But let's talk facts. The sequence of events is wild. First, 50 starts beefing with Ja Rule and Irv, then boom, he gets stabbed inside the Hit Factory studio by a black child who straight up admitted to it. Just months later, 50 gets sprayed with 9 bullets outside his grandma's house. Coincidence? Sounds way too connected, even though the feds never officially named Ja Rule or Irv Gotti in connection to that shooting.
Like my man told me, you can't stop what God got planned.
Gene Deal just reignited the flames with his latest revelations. He's saying straight up, they knew what was going down. And let's not ignore the bigger picture. Supreme, a known Murder Inc. associate, was deep in this drama too. Yeah, the same Supreme that 50 called out in Ghetto Quran. And that was the final move that put the bullseye on his back. What Gene's laying out is crazy. He's saying this wasn't just some street beef gone wild. This had the music industry's fingerprints all over it. We're talking about label heads, artists, and execs allegedly turning a blind eye so this kind of shady deal could slide through unnoticed. And Gene ain't some random dude talking from the sidelines. He was right there, deep in the mix, working as a bodyguard for Diddy during the Bad Boy, G-Unit, and Murder Inc. chaos.
How you the bully and the victim at the same time?
He knows the game. He lived it, and now he's breaking the silence. But why is Gene speaking now over 20 years later about Irv and Ja trying to take 50 down? According to him, the truth got buried and he's ready to dig it all up. And then comes the shocker. Gene says Irv wasn't just in the loop, he was the mastermind. Supreme may have had the muscle, but Irv was the brain behind it all. Gene also revealed that before things turned deadly, Irv and Ja actually tried to handle it clean. They offered 50 a $250,000 deal to squash the beef. They even brought in Chaz Williams, a street-respected figure, to help settle things between the camps. But when 50 refused to play along, Gene says Irv completely flipped the game plan. And that's when things got dark. Things went from let's settle it to let's handle him real fast. When that $25,000 hit got mentioned, Gene says Irv and his crew didn't just talk, they dropped the bag themselves. Now Gene's painting Irv not just as a music exec, but as a serious shot caller. Someone who made big boss moves both in the boardroom and in the streets.
It came to light for y'all that this dude wanted me dead way before I came to YouTube.
So was Irv Gotti just a label boss? Far from it. For years, he was the face of Murder Inc., the man who built Ja Rule's entire career, crafted the sound of the label, and strutted around like a full-blown mogul. But behind the scenes, folks always whispered he wasn't just moving records, he was moving weight too. His bond with Supreme wasn't just business, it was straight up legendary. Supreme wasn't your average street dude. He was a major kingpin in Queens, and Irv was always right there by his side. So close, in fact, that Murder Inc. got slapped with a full-blown federal investigation in the early 2000s for allegedly laundering drug money through the label. So when Gene says Irv made the call to greenlight 50, that don't sound far-fetched at all. Honestly, Irv could have made that kind of move without even picking up a phone. And everybody knows the beef between him and 50 wasn't about rap battles. This was real-life smoke. When 50 got stabbed at the Hit Factory, Irv and Ja didn't play it cool. They tried flipping the whole thing by waving around some fake paperwork, trying to label 50 a snitch. It was a shady, desperate move to ruin his street name, and when that peace deal failed, things got way darker. That's when whispers of a hit started circling heavy. What's crazy is that Irv's still popping up in interviews acting like he was just a victim, saying he got blackballed unfairly, like he wasn't in the thick of all this chaos. Irv Gotti didn't just walk away quietly, he keeps blaming 50 Cent for wrecking his career. He even went as far as saying 50's got the devil on his side, and that's the only reason he made it through. Like seriously, why would you even say that unless you tried to take him out and it didn't work? Irv dropped that wild line during an interview on Vlad TV. But now, Gene Deal's stepping up and shutting all that down, saying Irv wasn't blackballed at all. He just finally got exposed. And if you're still doubting Gene's version, check this. 50 Cent himself backed him up. He called Gene one of the few real ones in the industry who actually speaks the truth. Meanwhile, Irv's been out here rewriting history, popping up on podcasts and documentaries, acting like he was just some victim of 50's come up. But Gene says it straight. Irv was plotting behind closed doors, and this claim doesn't just throw shade, it puts both motive and money directly in Irv's hands. Even the feds never said it that boldly. And Gene didn't stop there. He dropped another bomb. He says Murder Inc. had help keeping things under wraps. What he revealed next? It blows the lid off how far this whole cover-up may have really gone. Back in 2000, when 50 Cent got lit up outside his grandma's house, 9 shots fired, you'd expect the whole music world to hit pause. But guess what? Nothing. No support from execs. No love from the artists. No pray for 50 posts. Not even a whisper from the hip-hop media. Just complete silence. And that silence, it said everything. Turns out it wasn't just the streets protecting Supreme. The industry was riding with him too. Supreme had real pull, not just with street legends, but with major artists and label bosses moving millions. And he wasn't the only power player mixing business with the block. Jimmy Henchman's name was floating around too. And he had his own grip on both sides of the game. Jimmy Henchman was managing major names like The Game, and years later, he ended up convicted for putting a hit on one of 50 Cent's crew members, Lodi Mack. So that whole vibe of fear and silent threats, it didn't just disappear. It lingered for years with Supreme and Henchman running deep in both the streets and the industry. 50 was surrounded by serious enemies, folks with money, power, and muscle ready to move. So when 50 got hit with 9 shots, the industry didn't rally around him. Most people either didn't want that kind of smoke or were too busy cashing checks from the same ones trying to take him out. And it got even worse for 50 after the shooting. Instead of being treated like a victim, he got treated like a liability. Columbia Records didn't wait. They dropped him fast and shelved his album, Power of the Dollar. Major publications didn't show sympathy either. They acted like he asked for it, like he brought the drama on himself. He got blackballed, frozen out, and tagged as too dangerous to even touch. But why? Because 50 wasn't just making diss tracks, he was naming names. He was putting both the streets and the suits on blast. How to Rob had already rattled some cages, but Ghetto Quran, that crossed the line completely. That track didn't just come for rappers, it exposed real criminal activity tied to real money. And with Murder Inc. being connected to Supreme and Jimmy Henchman running artists with major label backing, no exec wanted 50 anywhere near their brand. They didn't want the headlines, the beef, or the war he brought with him. So instead of backing a man who barely survived a targeted hit, the industry turned their backs and stayed quiet. But that silence, it wasn't just fear, it was protection even for the ones pulling strings behind the curtain. And now here's where things start looking real shady. The man believed to be behind the shooting of 50 Cent, Daryl Homo Baum, a known associate of Supreme, ended up dead just weeks after 50 got hit. Whether that was street justice or part of a bigger cover-up, one thing's clear, it worked. After Homo got taken out, the silence was deafening. Nobody talked, not to the feds, not to the media. And as Gene Deal said, this wasn't random, it was calculated. This was a whole system, a machine designed to protect Murder Inc., keep Supreme's name out of the mess, and make sure 50 paid the price for surviving. So now the real question is, how many people knew what was going on and stayed quiet? How many big shot execs turned a blind eye while the streets did the dirty work? And just when you think it couldn't get darker, it does. When 50 Cent got shot 9 times and lived to tell the story, he didn't fold. He flipped it. That moment, that trauma, turned into the foundation of his entire brand. From that day forward, he wasn't just a rapper from Queens, he became bulletproof. But Gene Deal says fans turned that moment into a legend, when really it was a setup, and the industry knew it. Let's be real, no, 50 didn't run from what happened. He wore it like armor. Every album cover, every press photo, every documentary carried that survival energy. He didn't ask for pity, he made surviving look legendary. In interviews, he stayed cool but never forgot. I got hit 9 times, I'm still here. Now what? That wasn't just talk, that was warrior mentality. And it wasn't just the image, and the music told it all. In Many Men Wish Death, 50 wasn't just dropping bars, he was reliving a real hit attempt. That hook, many men wish death upon me, wasn't just some catchy line, it was a warning. That track oozed pain, paranoia, and vengeance. And fans didn't just hear it, they felt every word. If you're a real 50 Cent fan, then you've got to ask, how did nobody ever get held accountable for what happened to him? Everyone knew the deal. 50 was nearly killed in cold blood, yet no arrests were made for the actual shooting. Sure, we all know the shooter was Daryl Homo Baum, a known associate of Supreme, but Homo got taken out just weeks after the hit. And Supreme, he didn't even go down for that. He got locked up years later on totally unrelated charges. So how is it that no one ever stood trial for trying to end 50's life? Gene Deal keeps pushing that exact point. This wasn't random violence. This was a full-blown hit, greenlit by people with serious money, heavy influence, and deep connections. Gene said the only reason 50 made it out alive was luck, timing, and God. And when he said it in that recent interview, he didn't stutter, he meant it. And it's not just Gene talking either, even the feds backed a lot of this up. Court documents, tapped calls, and eyewitness testimonies all pointed to Murder Inc. affiliates and Supreme's crew tracking 50's every move. They were watching him plotting, and get this, even Jam Master Jay's murder was looked into for possible ties to 50. Why? Because Jay was warned not to work with him. That's how serious and widespread the blackballing really was. Now let's shift back to Ja Rule's role in all of this. Was he really a mastermind or just a front? We know Ja was deep in the beef, and yeah, he had a motive. But according to Gene, Ja might have just been the face of something way bigger. The real power, that might have been moving way above his head. While Ja was busy battling on the surface, the real players were calling shots behind the scenes, quietly and dangerously. For years, Ja Rule has played the same card, the misunderstood artist caught in a feud that spiraled out of control. He's always painted 50 Cent as the aggressor, the loudmouth, the one who pushed things too far. On Math Hoffa's podcast, Ja even accused 50 of being both the bully and the victim, trying to play both sides. But Gene Deal, he's not buying none of that. Gene is straight up calling Ja's version of events a cover-up. Ja's been giving smooth interviews for decades, acting like the whole 50 beef was just about some rap bars, a snatched chain, and inflated egos. He says he never touched the dirt, claiming it was all just media hype or 50 playing the victim card. Even after 50 got stabbed, Ja tried flipping the narrative again, saying 50 filed a restraining order, trying to make him look scared or soft. But guess what? That whole claim was based on fake paperwork, and now Gene's stepping in to set the record straight. None of that was true. According to Gene, Ja Rule wasn't just the voice of Murder Inc. He was standing right there when the dirty work was being discussed. Gene said it plain. Ja wasn't no innocent bystander. He knew the play, and instead of owning his part, Ja's just been letting Irv Gotti take all the heat on social media. Meanwhile, Ja's been real quick to throw shade online, clowning 50, dropping memes, calling him names. But the moment somebody brings up the real street stuff, he switches up fast. Suddenly, it's all jokes, all smiles, never any real answers. That silence, it ain't by accident, it's strategy. Because if Ja Rule really was the clean-cut artist he keeps claiming to be, why dodge every serious question? Why avoid the whispers that have followed him for years? Gene's making it loud and clear. Ja wasn't just caught in the crossfire, he was standing right next to the trigger. Why is Ja Rule's name and his whole label constantly tied to street plots, violence, and retaliation moves? Gene Deal's not sugarcoating anything, he's calling it straight, saying this whole Ja was just the artist narrative is pure cap. According to Gene, Ja's denials are all part of a long-running PR cleanup that kicked off the moment the feds started circling Murder Inc. That peace-loving, black-balled rapper image Ja's been pushing for years. Gene says that wasn't truth, that was survival. It was all about protecting himself when the heat came down, not about setting the record straight. And here's where Gene really drops the hammer. He says Ja didn't just rap over beats, he helped build the very machine that tried to take 50 Cent out. But now that things are being exposed, Ja's just trying to act like he had no idea what was going on. Gene's calling all of it out, and his timing couldn't be more perfect. Irv Gotti's been out here lately doing interviews, still painting himself as the victim, saying he was blackballed, misunderstood, and unfairly targeted. But now, with fans digging back into hip-hop's darkest chapters, Gene's words are making everyone take a second look at everything Murder Inc. ever claimed. The stage is officially set. Ja Rule can keep dodging, keep laughing, keep pretending like he was just caught in the mix, but Gene's not letting it slide. His message is loud and crystal clear. Ja was there, and he's far from innocent. And here comes the real warning shot. Gene says more names are coming. This isn't just some random tell-all moment. Gene didn't wake up one day and decide to spill tea for clout. When you line up the pieces, the timing tells the whole story. And what's coming next might shake the game all over again. Right now, the music industry's whole foundation is crumbling. With the Diddy raids, lawsuits, and back-to-back exposés, hip-hop's darkest secrets are finally bubbling to the surface. And guess who's been stepping right into the storm? Gene Deal. He's been one of the loudest voices calling it all out. Let's keep it 100. Gene's been on go mode ever since Diddy's name started popping up in the headlines again. And it's personal. Gene wasn't just some random bystander. He was Diddy's own bodyguard during the wild bad boy era. He's got real stories and real receipts. According to Gene, Diddy wanted him dead a long time ago. And now, he's done staying silent. Just a few days ago, he dropped this on YouTube and didn't hold back. From Biggie's murder to East Coast power moves, Gene says he was right there when things got ugly. Now with Diddy facing charges, federal raids, and possibly a RICO case, Gene's message is clear. I'm not going down with him. But Gene ain't stopping with Diddy. He's coming for Irv Gotti too. Irv's been out here doing the full media circuit. Drink Champs interviews the works, trying to polish up Murder Inc.'s legacy. But Gene's not letting that slide. Irv's been pushing this soft story while saying he was just a misunderstood label exec, not the puppet master people say he was. But Gene's flipping that narrative right over. He says Irv and Ja Rule have spent the last 2 decades rewriting the past, pretending they were just innocent victims of a beef gone bad. When really, Gene claims they were out here making real street moves, including putting an actual price tag on 50 Cent's life. And now, with Ja Rule back on tour, smiling on stage, performing the hits like nothing ever happened, Gene's making sure nobody forgets what was going on behind that mic. Even now, while Ja Rule's out here smiling on stage and interacting with fans like everything's all sweet, Gene Deal's making it loud and clear. This ain't over. He's not just speaking for shock value. He's speaking out to protect himself. This isn't just about tea, this is about survival. Gene's drawing a line between what he witnessed and what he was involved in. With RICO charges, lawsuits, and serious federal heat closing in, he knows the block is getting hot. If there was ever a time to speak up before that fire gets too close, this is it. But Gene also said something deeper. This ain't just about him. He's tired of watching the ones in power dodge consequences while the victims get buried, literally and figuratively. He's fed up with seeing real trauma flipped into promo material for album sales and streaming numbers. Gene said, this isn't about clout and it ain't about revenge. It's about finally telling the truth. For the people who didn't make it, for the ones still too scared to speak, for the names that got silenced. But here's the real question. Is Gene telling it how it really went down, or is he flipping the script to save himself? We don't have the full answer yet. Some folks see Gene as a hero, breaking the code of silence, dragging hidden truths out from behind the velvet ropes of the music industry. Others say he's just doing damage control, trying to get ahead before someone throws him under the bus. And honestly, it might be both. Gene was in those rooms. He stayed quiet for years. But now, he's dropping names, dollar figures, and motives. And what's wild, not many people are stepping up to deny it. So if Gene Deal is telling the truth, someone out there still has blood on their hands. Don't let this conversation stop here. Hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, drop a comment with your thoughts, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. We'll catch you on the next one.